Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim for the Real Sports Talking, and hit me up on Twitter at CashKelly_TRST. You can also like the Real Sports Talk on Facebook, and it is called the Real Sports Talk. So go do both of those things right now. Pause the video, go do those, and then come back and enjoy this video. I know it's been like 5 or 6 days since I did a video, and usually I do a video every day, but it's just kind of been a slower sports week. There haven't been that many stories, and I really don't know why I didn't do a ton of videos. I just didn't this week. And the Ozzie Guillen video was getting a ton of views, so I kind of let that live its life out. But I am back now. Sacramento Kings is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while. I remember about a year ago talking about this with Dan Schwartzman, who is a radio host in Philly and New York, and talking about that on our live show. But then it seemed like they had come to an agreement and that the Kings were going to stay in Sacramento. They had reached a nearly $400 million agreement that would put a new arena in Sacramento by 2015, by the 2015 season. Well, it appears that that deal has fallen through, and the likelihood of the Kings staying in Sacramento is not likely anymore. I don't know why I said the likelihood is not likely, but regardless, it does not seem like the Kings are going to stay in Sacramento. David Stern says the arena deal is not going to happen. I mean, he straight up said that, and I don't think that David Stern's done a tremendous job in this the same way he did in the Seattle case, but there's also not a ton he could do. One of the reasons that I'm upset about this whole thing, though, is because the Sacramento Kings fans have really shown up. They've shown, look, we want to keep this team. We don't want to end up like Seattle where we lose our team. We want them to stay here. Mayor Kevin Johnson has been very outspoken and very involved in this entire process. I believe he was a former NBA player, so that all makes sense. And I think that the Kings should stay in Sacramento. I think that the issue is you have the Honda Center where there's they have the ability to move to Anaheim where the Ducks play. It's the pond, the Honda Center, whatever you want to call it, where the Ducks play, and it does not. That's not going to cost the owners almost $400 billion, and it's not the same moving from Seattle to Oklahoma City, where it's a completely different state and everything. I know California is a big state, but I mean it's not that drastic of a move to move from Sacramento to Anaheim. So they would be able to do that. It really wouldn't have any expense on them, and quite honestly, Anaheim's a bigger market, so it might help draw more fans. So in their case, it probably makes sense. But I see the Sacramento fans showing up there, and the bottom line is that they shouldn't even show up. The team is not watchable most nights. DeMarcus Cousins has been a complete flop and distraction since being the number 4 overall pick, I believe he was. 3 or 4, one of the two. And if you're not going to put a good product out there, then why would the fans show up? It's the same thing, and why would they want to pay a ton to build a new arena? I mean, Seattle didn't even get as far as building a new arena or making an agreement to build the new arena, and Sacramento's gotten to that point, and it just seems like the owners are saying, well, we've already decided that we don't want that to happen, and they apparently have had some this is according to the LA Times, that they've had some promises made to them that they're not exactly sure going to come through with the new arena, with help of funding for this new arena. And unfortunately, it looks like the Kings are going to move to Anaheim, and I don't like that move at all. I think, first of all, if you're going to move a team anywhere, it should be back to Seattle, because in all honesty, there are so many more teams that should have moved before Seattle. It's not even funny, and it was unfair because in the same case, Seattle had an arena that was very old, the Key Arena, I think it was called, and not a ton of people showing up, but look at the product they had. I mean, they had traded Ray Allen away. They had some nice young players, and Jeff Green at the time, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook came on in the OKC era, but if they had kind of stuck it out for a few more years, and I don't think anyone saw the Thunder, what they ultimately ended up becoming, ending up being this good. I don't think that anyone saw that, but if they had stuck it out a few more years, then maybe things could have worked out in Seattle. And I think that that could happen in Sacramento. You have Tyreke Evans. You have Jimmer Fredette, who I don't think is that great of a player in the NBA, but I think that he will draw some fans as he becomes better. And I think to move that team away is wrong, but Seattle should be the place that gets a team, if it is anyone, because Seattle is the one that had their team taken away in the first place. And when I look at that, that team should have stayed in Seattle. They could have eventually they could have worked out the whole arena deal. And I've listened to the guy, I forget what website he's from, but he also made a documentary about, he was a Supersonics fan, about the team leaving Seattle and what it did to the fans there and everything. And I mean, that really convinced me that this city really deserved a team. And I think that Sacramento has shown by showing up that they deserve a team. But if they're going to go anywhere, it should be Seattle. The team that should have gone to Oklahoma City or should have just stayed there was the Hornets, who were purchased yesterday by the Saints owner. So they appear to have some financial flexibility finally after being owned by the league for so long. The problem is the league gave them a terrible trade to go get Chris Paul. I mean, Eric Gordon's a decent player, but he's a free agent at the end of the season, and in all likelihood is going to walk. Chris Kaman has been a non-factor there, so that's an organization that is far away. I think, though, what they should really do, if they're going to move, if they're not going to stay in Sacramento, they should eliminate the Kings. I mean, I think that it's that simple. Eliminate the Kings and the Bobcats. Start there. I think that the NBA would be in such better shape if you had, A, 6 teams make the playoffs, and maybe even 5 if you could figure it out, but B, if you took away some teams rather than continuing to move to medium market cities, or in some cases not even medium market cities, because that just doesn't work. It might have worked moving them to Oklahoma City, but that's because the team became so good. And the fans would have shown up in OKC like any other place that's fair for the first few years, and then you say, okay, where is the product there? And if the product wasn't there, then that probably would not have worked out, just like it wouldn't have worked out in any other city if you move a new team there. If the team sucks, people don't want to come and watch it, and that makes sense, and I don't think that most people understand that. But I don't know what they should do. I think that getting rid of some of these teams would help balance a lot of power. The issue in the NBA now is not that there aren't enough stars, it's that there isn't enough depth to go around for all these teams. And a lot of people have asked me, how is the NBA so popular but no one goes to half the teams' games? It's because it's so centered around 4 or 5 teams. If you could get some of these players off the smaller teams and help them go join some of the teams that are the 6th and 7th seeds right now, it would make the level of competition so much better in the NBA that I think that it would be a better overall NBA if you had less teams in the playoffs. Let's be honest. The Knicks and the Sixers, I'm a Sixers fan, but Christ, this team does not deserve to make the playoffs. Are you kidding me? The Bucks, if they were able to get in, do they really deserve to make the playoffs? Are any of those teams going to beat the Miami Heat or the Chicago Bulls? No, not even the Pacers for that matter. And I don't understand why the NBA continues to have all these teams that no one cares about. The Charlotte Bobcats are an absolute laughing stock. They draw, 6,000 a night. It's an embarrassment to the game. And they shouldn't be there. That's the bottom line. You could move them to another city, and I'm sure there's other places that would work. I know that the Nets are moving out of New Jersey into Brooklyn, so maybe you could move a team to New Jersey. But the issue is most of the teams that you want to move are either on the West Coast or they're down like in the Southeast. In the case of like the Bobcats and some of the other teams down there, and I just don't know if moving them to New Jersey would necessarily work because you would have to change divisions and everything. Not that divisions are really that big of a deal in the NBA if you don't finish in first place, but you get my point. The bottom line with the Kings, I believe they should stay in Sacramento, but if they're not going to stay in Sacramento, and I hope that they do because I cannot imagine losing my team and all the teams in sports that have less fans show up to see the Kings, who have a decent attendance. I mean, I wouldn't ever say that the Kings have the most die-hard fans in the history of the NBA, but I think that they've proven that they deserve to keep their team, and to take it away at this point because the owners, similar to the Seattle case, are being kind of greedy and saying, look, we can make more money in Anaheim, we don't have to spend the money to build a new arena. It's wrong, and it's wrong to the fans, and I think that the NBA's got to really figure some things out, get rid of some teams, and rather than just continue moving them, getting rid of them would make a lot more sense. Hit me up on Twitter at CashKelly_TRST. Also, like The Real Sports Talk on Facebook. You can email me, CashKellyNAC@gmail.com. And go check out a few of the websites I like, BlitzSportsNetwork.com. Check out the Blitz Hardcore Podcast, which I'm on every Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, talking baseball. Blog Talk Radio / Blitz Hardcore Podcast. And also go check out BeforeTheKickoff.com and ProFootballExclusive.com. Check out all of those great sites. I'll see you.